Good morning and welcome to another short devotional for Black Rock Baptist Church and also Morristown Baptist Church. This morning we're focusing upon Acts chapter 7 or chapter 27 verse 31. Our theme is in the difficult times of life, what happens in you is what's most important. What's happening within your life, within you as an individual, is what's most important. You know, when you experience problems and difficulties and hurts in life, they can either make you bitter or they can make you better. You really have the choice. You can either grow up or you can give up. You can become who God wants you to be, or you can become hard-hearted. When you go through difficult times, what happens to you is not nearly as important as what happens within you. You'll take character. You'll take your character into eternity with you, but not your circumstances. You won't take that with you. How you respond in life's unfair times is up to you. That's why you want to decide now what you're going to do. Acts chapter 27 teaches us three responses to avoid the trials, and from them we can learn how God wants us to respond instead. Number one, don't drift, but stay focused. Acts 27 verse 15 says, the ship was caught by the storm and could not head into the wind. So they gave way to it and were driven along. This ship that Paul was carrying other passengers to Rome. It was in the middle of the Mediterranean and hadn't seen the sun for 14 days, it says. They couldn't get their bearings and they started to drift off course. You know, some people, when they face difficulty, they start drifting through life. They have no goal, they have no purpose, they have no ambition or dream. Today we call it coasting. The problem with coasting is that you only coast when you're headed downhill. Life is not a coast. Life is rough and tough. Don't lose your ambition. Don't lose your dream when life gets hard. So don't drift, stay focused. Secondly, don't discard, hold on. It says in verse 18, we took such a violent beating from the storm that the next day we began to throw the cargo overboard. The men in charge needed to lighten the ship. So they threw the cargo overboard, followed by the tackle and the food that was on board. Because the storm was so overwhelming, they were discarding things that they felt they didn't need. When you get into the midst of a storm and the stress becomes unbearable, you may start abandoning values, relationships that you would normally hold on to in better times. You might say, I'm giving up on my marriage, or I'm giving up on my dream to go to college, or I'm giving up, you fill in the blank. But God says, stay with the ship. God gives us difficult situations to change us. It's really God's will for you to run, or it's rarely God's will for you to run from difficult situations. God wants you to learn from them, to grow, to develop, and He's there with you all the time. That's His promise. Don't discard, hold on. Finally, don't despair, hope in God. Verse 20 says, we finally gave up all hope of being saved. After 14 days and after giving up their cargo and their food and their tackle, the passengers finally gave up hope. But they'd forgotten one thing. Even in the midst of the storm, God's still in control. He hasn't left you. You may not feel Him, but if you feel far from God, guess who moved? It wasn't Him. God is with you in the storm. He'll help you through it. And on the other side of the storm, you'll find that He's growing your character and He's deepened your faith. God bless. Have a wonderful day. Meet with us again on Friday as we continue our devotionals. And until we meet again, let's continue to exchange prayers daily.